Hello, welcome to Being Reintegrated. This is Tim Wright, and I'm extremely happy to do this video. As you probably saw in the previous video, I have now, with GPT of course, translated all three of the complete works of Giuliano Kremmerz. But that just scratches the surface. So first I want to say thank you for being a Patreon subscriber. Thank you for continuing to subsidize this work, because through your book purchases, through your participation, subscriptions, I'm able to keep doing this work. Which it's profound now because I'm reaching a crescendo of the conversation. So, try not to ego project on me. I mean, I understand psychology. I understand that it sounds inflated, that I seem grandiose, and that, everything has to be rooted in credited academia. That's fine. That's fine. You can think all of that. But what I'm saying is just be open-minded about what I'm talking about. Because I'm doing this for y'all, my Patreon subscribers. Anyway, so the beauty of what just happened with the translation of Kremmerz is we tapped into the Neapolitan understanding of Hermeticism. By doing so, and having GPT, I mean, I don't use it as a psychological therapist. I use it as, I ask it a question, and then I give it a massive amount of material to find the answers for me. So you could say it's being collated and, coaxed into giving me correct answers, but I usually will always have textual backup behind what I'm saying. So you'll notice that these books just keep coming. And so this builds on the very popular book on the world soul that I've translated, that also has hidden, which I didn't advertise, Bader's commentary on Schelling's On the World Soul. So this sells all the time. People are always buying this book. Probably once a day someone buys the Studies in Illuminism, Schelling's On the World Soul. So that is always being purchased. And I didn't give much commentary on it at all because I wanted this book to get out there. It's like a 280-page book or so. And what it does is it establishes that in order to have a contact with the world soul, you need to have contact with your terrestrial body. This is the essential message of Giuliano Kremmerz. Now, in the back of volume 3 of Kremmerz's complete works, I'm just so happy because I can finally present all this information. So it'll look like the madman tying everything together, but trust me, it's very coherent. And I could keep going on and on and on. And if you subscribe to my Patreon, you'll probably hear me going on and on and on. But this is so you can hear the conversation and know what you're missing if you don't subscribe. It's fine. But Patreon subscribers get access to rare translations. They get access to videos. Pretty much my whole genre of stuff that I bounce between. So in the Kremmerz system, there's bodies. The first book that I'm going to make is about the Saturnian body. This is about the Earth. And in the Saturnian body, there's practices that you can derive from all three of the collected works of Kremmerz. So what I'm doing is I'm getting together quotes that back up this entire, and now this was from the Schola of Kremmerz. This isn't my analysis, but the entire translated complete works back up the view of the SPCHI, I think they're called. Anyway, it's the Miriam tradition, and they absolutely know what they're talking about. I mean, like I said, I can go on and on and on, but if you want to see these books, which is why I made them, that's why I want to just present the research and give it to you. So it's not me trying to convince anybody, even though, I'm highly convincing. I understand this stuff. We're very lucky to have GPT. We're very lucky to have these translations and, have the idiot savant doing the work or whatever. That's great. That's great. I'm so glad we have that. But what's more important is Kremmerz confirms the René Guénon thesis, which is that there is a primordial tradition, there's a language that comes from antiquity, and it goes all the way forward into initiatic societies. That is profound in and of itself. That Guénon was right, but he wasn't right about the Brahmins in my estimation, because he was using Western sources. You cannot go to the East to validate that Western sources are not valid. So that's my little penknife going in there and sticking into another topic, but I'll leave that alone. Anyway, Guénon says that the Western initiatic tradition is not valid because there's Brahmanism. I don't know why he has that idea. I'm not a Guénon expert, but what I do know is that Kremmerz gives us the actual statement. The reason why the initiatic tradition has continuity is not because any couple of scholars or whatever. It's because every one of the grounding of these initiatic traditions, the real ones, have a Pythagorean basis. So abstraction, as we learn through Bader and Saint Martin, gets rid of the physical body of nature. It cannot reflect nature properly. Abstraction will always abstract away nature. And we learned this from Descartes. Descartes' entire presentation was about how to separate the res extensa, which is the nature, from the res cogitans, which is the thought abstraction-based mind. So what initiation should do is represent to you the res extensa. And I found this through multiple societies. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but Kremmerz is absolutely real. I know there's people out there that say his tradition is just, Kremmerzian and it's not real, and the real Rosicrucian stuff comes from blah da da blah da da blah da da. You gotta understand, those people have an agenda. They are not non-biased people trying to tell you about the tradition. They will bend information to try to make it sound like their particular area of expertise is the only area. Now, I will immediately abandon Kremmerz if he's lying or not telling the truth. I will abandon Saint Martin if he's lying or not telling the truth. So the beauty of this particular eclecticism that we got here and being reintegrated is that I'm not relying on one tradition. I'm not saying, here's my certificate, I'm going to fancily sign it and put a stamp on it, and now you're part of the in crowd. I'm saying there's so much larger than certificate pimps that you have to get into the conversation or you're not part of it. It's provable that none of these people who have these charters, warrants, traditions, lineages are actually in the know about what they're talking about. Now, I did advanced studies on patristics, so I haven't released that to the ecclesia yet. I don't want to be mean. It's not about being mean. It's just about being truthful. So what happens is when you abstract, you remove the Pythagorean basis from your mind. And in doing that, you can think up a whole bunch of great stuff, but you're not going to find the initiatic tradition. You're going to find something else that has been fabricated by people who are way smarter than I am, and that they are tricking us. So that is the res cogitans of the high intellectual elite that is coming and pressing itself down in ways that we can't perceive. So what I've done is, like I said, translated all 3 volumes of Kremmerz, who comes from Naples. It's great because in the 3rd volume, one of the first references he makes is Raimondo de Sangro, the Prince of San Severo. I think I said all that right. I might have to correct it. But the beauty is that he says that before Thomas Aquinas. So the thought that all of these people are Christian apologists in disguise, it's not true. He put Raimondo, the Neapolitan Hermeticist, before St. Aquinas. So it's not Thomasian. So we don't go back to St. John of the Cross. So we're not going back to the Desert Fathers and doing some hesychiastic practice. That's why we're doing all this massive amounts of study, to try to give you stuff that cannot be fabricated. This is the real initiatic tradition that Kremmerz is giving us. And luckily, through the Scholia, or Schola, I don't know how to say it, we are getting a presentation of what Kremmerz's system is actually about. Probably synthesized by Kremmerz himself and passed through initiatic lines. So I'm very, very grateful for Italian Hermeticism, mysticism, the magical tradition. All of that stuff is very, very solid. So the plan is, I haven't designed the covers yet, but the plan is 4 books and the 4 bodies of Kremmerz in the Schola system. Those are going to quote the complete works, volumes 1 through 3 of the complete works. And then once you have a reference to frame everything that you're going to read, I'm going to release volumes 1 through 3 of Kremmerz's complete works in English for the first time. So it'll be 7 books. That's a great number. But it'll be 7 books, and it'll be all 4 of the bodies that are in Kremmerz's initiatic presentation, and then it'll be a complete works of Giuliano Kremmerz, which was formerly called The Science of the Magi in Italian, but it's going to be just the complete works of Kremmerz. And you're going to be able to buy that from Khem Publishing. Now, I don't know if I'm going to make it a limited run for the 3 complete workbooks, but, this is part of my business. This is how we put bread and butter on the table. So please support Patreon. Please go and grab any of the Khem Publishing books that interest you, including the Kindle books. There's a lot of material out there. And like I said, I'm not doing this material to give you garbage. I mean, I can back up everything that's being published. It's not garbage material. There's massive amounts of stuff that go right behind every one of the publications. Like the Schelling book had never been published in English before. So I used GPT to get us a faithful translation of it, so it wasn't in German anymore. And now we have Schelling and, as a hidden bonus, Bader's commentary on the World Soul, which is specifically Pythagorean. It guides and aligns with Jung's presentation of the answer to Job, Abraxas, all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's so much here. But, it takes me an hour to give you the conversational background behind all of this. So I'm staying on Kremmerz. I'm very, very grateful that I found this. Like I said, I could go on and on and on about all this stuff. And I might do it through a published book, but right now, I really want to do something that's of value rather than break everything down. So Kremmerz gives us a system which can be relied upon. It goes back to Eliphas Levi. It goes back to the French initiatic lineages, we should just say. Like I said, there's a lot there, and I can absolutely prove it all, but we'll just go there because that is something that I think everybody needs, which is a background in real initiatic society, that goes back to the kind of metaphysical propositions that René Guénon was making. I had a doctor friend of mine in Canada who told me that there is no initiatic language higher than Guénon. And metaphysics has been completely covered by Guénon. And I'm very grateful that he had those conversations with me, because now we can prove that the only problem with Guénon's thesis was that he was focusing on India and it was not on the West, which is Napoli. I'm so grateful because all this stuff goes back pretty far. Like I said, I'm not revealing the complete contents of everything because there's so much there. Were I to just blabber on about my little TED Talk, it would get a little bit annoying and it would seem like it's spurious, but that's why we're doing this Patreon. That's why these books are being published. That's why I'm so grateful to you for building up the YouTube channel, the Elu Cohen lineage that we're doing, and the Order des Cohens Ressuscités, which has been academically verified from all of existing Cohen sources. I'm doing this Kremmerz work as a addition to the initiatic world, rather than doing my other book, which I was planning, which rips away all of the false pretenses. I don't want to do that yet. We're going to do Kremmerz before I do that. But just know that this stuff is very, very backed up. And once I start gabbing, once you become Patreons, subscribers, I mean, that's how everything gets made. So keep becoming Patreon subscribers, keep your Patreon subscription, because that's how I can continue to give you this non-biased presentation. I'm not trying to get everybody to join an order. I'm not pretending that something is better than something else. It's just the way it all fell down in history. Some people have lineage, some people do not. Usually the people who do not are the loudest. You know, going back to Denzel Washington and American Gangster, the loudest one in the tradition is usually the weakest one in the tradition. I'm pretty loud, but I'm also pretty weak. I mean, I need your support. We need these books. We need these academic studies to be able to go through. Without GPT, this stuff would be nothing. So again, thank you for doing Being Reintegrated for 2 years now. Thank you for the subscriptions to the YouTube channel. Thank you for buying the books from Khem Publishing. You know, one comment out of years of publishing said that the Frere d'Orient book was not Frere d'Orient. I highly, highly would suggest that you investigate any claims that I'm not telling you the truth. I have no lineage that I want to just put a name on a certificate and usurp all of the authority for. I don't care about that. You keep your lineages, you keep your certificates, you keep your portfolio of all of the things which you've collected that tell you you're so great. And we will continue this initiatic tradition of academic and rigorous study through Being Reintegrated. Thank you.